Today, I am going to talk about interpersonal skills. What is interpersonal skill? Interpersonal skills are the skills we use every day when we communicate and interact with other people, both individually and groups. They include a wide range of skills, but particularly communication skills, such as listening and effective speaking. They also include the ability to control and manage your emotions. It is no exaggeration to say that interpersonal skills are foundation for success in life. People with strong interpersonal skills tend to be able to work well with other people, including in teams or groups, formally and informally. They communicate effectively with others, whether family, friends, colleagues, customers, or clients. They also have better relationship at home and at work. You can improve your interpersonal skill by developing your awareness of how you interact with others and practicing your skills. What are interpersonal skills? Interpersonal skills are sometimes referred to as social skills, people skills, soft skills, or life skills. However, these terms can be used both narrowly and more broadly. Interpersonal skills, the skill you need and use to communicate and interact with other people. The definition means that interpersonal skills therefore include communication skills, which in turn covers verbal communication, what we say and how we say it; non-verbal communication, what we communicate without words, for example through body language or tone of voice; and listening skills, how we interpret both the verbal and non-verbal messages sent by others. And then let's see emotional intelligence, being able to understand and manage your own and others' emotions. Teamworking, being able to work with others in groups and teams, both formal and informal. Negotiation, persuasion, and influencing skills, working with others to find a mutually agreeable outcome. This may be considered a subset of communication, but it often treated separately. Conflict resolution and mediation, working with others to resolve the interpersonal conflicts and disagreements in a positive way, which again may be considered a subset of communication. Problem solving and decision making, working with others to identify, define, and solve problems, which include making decisions about the best course of action. The importance of interpersonal skills we will see. Interpersonal skills matter because none of us live in a bubble. In the course of our lives, we have to communicate with and interact with other people on a daily, if not hourly basis, and sometimes more often. Good interpersonal skills oil the wheels of these interactions, making them smoother and pleasanter for all those involved. They allow us to build better and longer lasting relationship both at home and at work. Interpersonal skills at home we will see now. Good interpersonal skills help you to communicate more effectively with family and friends. And this is to be particularly important with your partner. For example, being able to give and receive feedback effectively with your partner can help you to resolve small problems between you before they becoming big issues. There is another about this and other aspects of using interpersonal skills at home, like personal and romantic relationship skills, and parenting skills. Everybody thinks that they cannot solve the problem at home, and we have an inner feeling that our home friend cannot involve themselves in these problems, so which is absolutely wrong. So one has to interact with their own family members to see that they are also sharing the problems what you have. So now let us see the interpersonal skills at work. You may not think about it these terms, but you almost certainly spend more time with your colleagues than your partner. At work, you are required to communicate with and interact with a wide range of people, from suppliers and customers through to your immediate colleagues further. Your ability to do so effectively can make the difference between a successful working life and one spent wondering what went wrong. There are, of course, some jobs in which interpersonal skills are particularly important. Customer facing notes such as sales, customer relations, management are likely to especially good interpersonal skills as a prerequisite. However, there are a number of other less obvious jobs and careers where interpersonal skills are also vitally important. They include healthcare provision, including doctors, nurses, and other healthcare professionals. Being able to listen to and talk to patients and their families is an essential skill, as is being able to give a bad news in a sensitive way. I have seen some of the places in hospitals and nursing homes. They reveal all the things to the patient directly, which is unwelcome by their own family members. This is one of the things one has to avoid, and telling their family people first and ask them to interpret it their own patient. This will go a long way to give a psychological effect to their patients who are undergoing treatment. We almost take these skills for granted in healthcare professionals, but we also know how devastating the situation can be when these professionals have poor skills and fail to communicate effectively. Finance and advice and brokerage, financial advisors and brokers need to be able to listen carefully to their customers and understand both what they say and what they not articulating. This enables them to provide recommendations that match their client needs. Poor interpersonal skills mean that they will find it harder to build good customer relationship and to understand the customer needs. I have seen some of the people who are acting like broker. They do not do their homework and meet the customers and could struggle to explain the things to their customers and communicate effectively to them, so which doesn't attract at all to the customers. Next comes the computer programming and development. This area is often thought of as ultimate territory for Greeks, with the assumption that interpersonal skills are not essential. However, technical developers increasingly need good interpersonal skill to understand their customers and to be able to translate between the technical and the practical, which is very, very important in information technology field. So one has to understand the customer needs and should be able to interpret the same to practically make it happen with the developers. This is one of the finest skills which is required in this area. Developing your interpersonal skills. Good interpersonal skills are the foundation for good working and social relationship, and also developing many other areas of skill. It is therefore worth spending time developing good interpersonal skills. Improving and developing your interpersonal skills is best done in steps starting the most basic but vital. So we will see the following things are important. Number one is identify areas for improvement. The first step towards improving is to developing your knowledge of yourself and your weaknesses. You may already know to have a good idea of areas that you need to develop. However, it is worth seeking feedback from other people because it is necessary to develop blind spots about yourself. You might also find it useful to do our interpersonal skills self-assessment, which is very important, is the first basic thing for the developing further. That self-assessment may give you an idea of which area to develop first. It may, however, also be worth starting with the basics and move on from there. The second point would be focus on your basic communication skills. Communication is far more than the words that come out of your mouth. Some would even go so far to suggest that there is a reason why you have 2 ears and 1 mouth, and that you should therefore listen twice as much as you talk, which is a very important thing. That is, you listen more and talk less. That it means the good communication. Listening is very definitely not the same as hearing. Perhaps one of the most important thing what you can do for anyone else is to take time to listen carefully to what they are saying, considering both their verbal and non-verbal communication. Using technique like questioning and reflection demonstrate that you are both listening and interested. So when you are talking, be aware of the words you use. Could you be misunderstood or confuse the issue? Practice clarity and learn to seek feedback or clarification to ensure your message has been understood correctly. By using the questions effectively, you can both check others' understanding and also learn more from them. You may think that selecting your words is the most important for getting the message across, but non-verbal communication actually plays a much bigger part. Many of us are aware. Some experts suggest that around 3/4 of the message is communicated by non-verbal signals. I'll repeat, 3/4 of the message is communicated by non-verbal signals such as the body language, the tone of the voice, and the speed at which we speak. These non-verbal signals reinforce or contradict the message of your words and are much harder to fake than words. They are therefore a much more reliable signal. Learning to read body language is a vital part of the communication. The third point we would like to see is improve your most advanced communication skills. So once you are confident in your basic listening and verbal and non-verbal communication, you can move on to more advanced area around communication, such as becoming more effective in how you speak and understanding why you may be having communication problems. Communication is rarely perfect and can fall for a number of reasons. What are they? Understanding more about the possible barriers to good communication means that you can be aware of and reduce the likelihood of ineffective interpersonal communication and misunderstandings. Problems with communication can arise for a number of reasons, such as the physical barriers, for example, being unable to see and hear the speaker properly, or language difficulties. If you are trying to listen in some other language, probably you cannot understand or listen and then communicate effectively. And then comes the emotional barriers, such as not wanting to hear what is said or engage with the other topic. That is, we are not involved in the topic, so we are not involved and involve ourselves in the particular subject. So we are not listening to the full extent. Then comes the expectation and prejudices that affect the people to see and hear. That we say, I don't want to hear all this topic, so I am not listening, so I am not understanding, I am not communicating, like that. There are also circumstances in which communication is more difficult. For example, when you have to have an unpleasant conversation with someone, perhaps about their standard of work, these conversations may be either planned or unplanned. There tend to be two issues and make conversations more difficult: emotion and change. Various emotions can get the way of communicating, including anger, aggression, or stress. Few of us are able to communicate effectively when we are struggling to manage our emotions, and sometimes the best thing that can be done is to postpone the conversation until everyone is calmer. We have seen when the speaker talks about one subject, the people started clapping continuously. So the speaker stops and the clapping is over, then only he can restart, so that he can make the listening more effective. The difficult conversations are often about the need for change. Many of us find change hard to manage, especially if it is associated with an implied criticism of existing ways of working. Our next topic would be look inwards. Interpersonal skills may be about how you relate to others, but they start with you. Many will be improved dramatically if you work on your personal skills. For example, the people are much more likely to be drawn to you if you can maintain a positive attitude. The positive attitude also translates into improved self-confidence. This is one of the important things one has to follow when they are delivering on a particular topic. You are also less likely to be able to communicate effectively if you are stressed about something. It is therefore important to learn to recognize, manage, and reduce stress in yourself and others. Being able to remain assertive without becoming either positive or aggressive is also keys to effective communication. So there is more about this on assertiveness. So one has to learn the tactic how to behave themselves, assert themselves. Perhaps the most important overreaching personal skill is developing emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence is the ability to understand your own and others' emotions and their effects on behavior and attitude. It is therefore perhaps best considered as both personal and interpersonal in its nature, but there is no doubt that improving your emotional intelligence will help in all areas of interpersonal skills. And managing the emotions of others is to be able to understand and manage our own emotions, including understanding what motivates us. The social skills are how we handle relationship with others, or empathy and social skills. These mean understanding and feeling for others, then being able to interact effectively with them. Improving your own emotional intelligence, therefore, improves your understanding that other people have different points of view. So it helps to try to see things from their perspective. In doing so, you may learn something whilst gaining the respect and trust of others. Next point would be use and practice your interpersonal skill in particular situations. So we will see with examples. There are a number of situations in which you need to use interpersonal skills. Consciously putting yourself in those positions and practicing your skills, then reflecting on the outcomes will help you to improve. For example, interpersonal skills are essential when working in groups. Group work is also a common situation both at home and at work, giving you plenty of opportunity to work on your skills. It may be helpful to understand more about group dynamics and ways of working, as these can affect how both of you and others behave. For more about the different types of teams and groups, for more about how people behave in groups, these are all the effective terms in team working. The interpersonal skill may also particularly helpful if you have to negotiate, persuade and influence others. Effective negotiation, that is, where you are seeking win-win outcome rather than win-lose, will pave the way for mutual respect, trust and lasting interpersonal relations. Only by looking for a solution that works for both the parties rather than seeking to win all at cost can this help you to establish a good relationship that will enable you to work together over and over again. Being able to persuade and influence others, again with mutual benefit, is also a key building block towards strong interpersonal skills. Resolving, mediating in conflict scenarios can be a real test of interpersonal skills. Sometimes negotiation and persuasion are not enough to avoid conflict. Then what we should do? When this happens, you need strong conflict resolution and potentially even mediation skills. Conflict can arise from poorly handled interpersonal communication and may be addressed simply by listening carefully to both sides and demonstrating that you have done so. Finding a win-win situation is similarly important here because it shows that you respect both sides. These skills may be thought of as an advanced communication skills. However, if you are often required to manage such situation, some specialist training may be helpful. Finally, the problem solving and decision making are usually better when they involve more than one person. Problem solving and decision making are life skills. While both can be done alone, they are often better for involvement of more people. This means that they also frequently involve interpersonal elements, and therefore there is no doubt that better interpersonal skills will help both. Our next point is reflect on your experience and improve. The final element in developing and improving your interpersonal skill is to develop the habit of self-reflection. Taking time to think about conversations and interpersonal interactions will help you to learn from your mistakes and successes and continues to develop. You might, for example, find it helpful to keep a diary or learning journal and write it in each week. I hope this video gives inside information about interpersonal skills. Perhaps this will give more idea which gives only a bird's eye view. So you may have to develop by reading journals and attending seminars and listening to lectures about the interpersonal skills. If you like this video, kindly share, comment and subscribe. Thank you.